Woj joins us now. We heard from Mark Spears, who spoke to Boogie Cousins a little bit earlier, but more levels to this deal and how it played out. Woj, what have you learned?
Well, listen, with DeMarcus Cousins.
Boogie Cousins, yes, DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh my God, DeMarcus Cousins signed for the Warriors. Oh my God, I'll never watch the NBA again. Take a deep breath.
And chill. Just chill and relax, my guys. The DeMarcus Cousins signing was, yes, for sure the biggest offseason move since the year of the 3-1. Yes, the Warriors now theoretically have a starting lineup that could compete in the All-Star game. Yes, they have now added another All-NBA caliber player that also happens to play the position in which they are the weakest. But this doesn't ruin the NBA. In fact, it doesn't ruin much at all, except maybe for the Warriors themselves. Honestly, DeMarcus Cousins could end up hurting Golden State more than he helps them. For all of the disparity and unfairness that we can see on paper, in practice, it could turn out far worse than people expect it to. For one, he is coming off an Achilles injury. The success rate of coming back from an injury like this is rather rare. The best case of a post-Achilles player is Dominique Wilkins, who had to change up his whole game in order to stay effective in the NBA. For other players, they're not that lucky. According to a 2013 study from the Drexel University College of Medicine, players who suffer an Achilles injury don't come back the same. They come back quite a bit worse than what they were before. And some, almost half, 7 out of 18, don't come back at all. And that's not really all that incredulous to think about, as the Achilles tendon is the biggest and arguably most important tendon in your body. It's the tendon that connects your calf to your foot, and it's what allows you to walk, to run, to jump. Without the Achilles tendon, your leg is effectively useless. And as an athlete, your career goes with that. You see, what DeMarcus Cousins experienced was the straight snapping of that tendon, completely in two, to the point where he was unable to move his foot on his left leg. For an injury like that, surgeons essentially tie back, for lack of a better term, the loose ends together, using what is called a strong suture, as described by the Southern California Orthopedic Institute, in which Boogie was admitted to. This is the same institute that Wesley Matthews went to when he tore his Achilles in 2015. On the topic of Wesley Matthews, he's sort of been a shell of his former Portland self. From the 2015 to the 2016 season, his production went from 15 points a game to 12.5, and his efficiency waned from nearly 45% to 39%. And he hasn't passed the 40% mark in field goal percentage ever since. While he has been effective on defense still, he's never quite been the player that he was since his Achilles tear, even with the advances in sports medicine. Rudy Gay is another example. While sure he has been admitted to a Spurs system that detracts from individual numbers, his production has also waned as well, and part of that can be attributed to his Achilles injury and recovery. DeMarcus Cousins is quite a bit heavier than both of these players at 270 pounds. And since the strain on the Achilles tendon is roughly 3.1 times the body weight, he's putting roughly 150 pounds of strain more so than Matthews ever had to deal with, and quite a bit more than Gay had to deal with, which could obviously hinder the easing into the game, which could disrupt the Warriors when he comes back in some December or January, but more on that later. While Wesley Matthews was relatively quick, DeMarcus Cousins is slow, and I don't mean prime Dirk slow. I don't mean like 30-year-old Dirk slow. I mean 40-year-old Dirk slow. Like aching knees, aching back type of slow. According to NBA stats, the slowest rotation player tied with Dirk Nowitzki was none other than DeMarcus Cousins. Over the past 4 years, he's been the first or second slowest player in the league, consistently. This doesn't bode well, especially coming off the Achilles injury, which is infamous for being responsible for the loss of plantar flexion strength, that is, the measure of explosiveness. The slowest player in the league losing even more speed is not a good sign for the Golden State Warriors. Even recently, for the New Orleans Pelicans, the team that played the fastest in the NBA this year, he's slowed them down by roughly 3 possessions a game. Before Cousins got injured, the Pelicans were the 6th fastest team in the league. Afterwards, they were the first, with only the young and 21-win Phoenix Suns close behind. But athletic traits in a player like Boogie Cousins isn't all that. But unfortunately, the cons go beyond that. We all know he's infamous for his bad temper and attitude, which led to one of the only trades in NBA history in which you could get an All-NBA player for Buddy Hield, even on the Pelicans. It's reported that Anthony Davis enjoyed the locker room more without Boogie and wasn't completely adamant about him re-signing and recruited Julius Randle, the player in which after the Pelicans signed, there was really no space positionally or monetarily for Boogie to come back. And it wasn't like that all season, which is the odd part. As of March 9th, Davis said that he'd be very involved in the free agency process and wanted Boogie back in New Orleans, only to turn on him. Extending even further beyond that, to now in July, no team with money that they could offer him, that being the Celtics or the Lakers or the Bucks or any other team in the league that can offer him more money than $5.3 million, decided to put a request on the table. They were essentially saying that we don't want a player like that. We don't believe that Boogie Cousins can be a good presence whilst injured. And that's telling. Focusing more on the Warriors, we know that they're a pace and space, run and gun offense that likes to get back on defense and is very focused on that end. As I said before, the Pelicans were the quickest team in the league, and when Cousins got injured, their offensive rating went down, but their net rating increased. They scored less on offense, but they beat teams by more, meaning without DeMarcus Cousins, they played better. Boogie Cousins is not an athletic player. His max vertical at the 2010 Combine was 27.5 inches, a measure that probably some of y'all can attain. While when he focuses, he's a decent defender, overall, DeMarcus Cousins is a net negative defender. He is not spectacular or even above average in any category, which is not good for the Warriors, a team that thrives on defense in the backcourt, with players like Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, JaVale McGee, Jordan Bell, players that are switchable and players that are above average to exceptional in areas of the less glamorous side of the game. And to compound upon all of this, the Pelicans were better without Boogie. The win percentage that they had with him before his injury was 56.3%. Without them, that raised by 10, 62.9. And even additionally, I don't think that he's going to relegate to a smaller role. I, for one, believe that he'd be better off the bench, rather than mess up the switchability and defensive prowess that they would have with their starting lineup with Jordan Bell. That's not something I don't think he would do, for reasons I'll explain in just a little. And last of all, DeMarcus Cousins is literally going to be a one-year rental for this team. The Warriors don't have bird rights on him, so they can only sign him to a maximum of about $6.3 million. And if you guys can remember, the manager referred to this move, this signing, as chess, not checkers. So going off of that, this is probably an opportunity to bolster Boogie's market value next free agency class, when the cap is cleared up more than this offseason, which has been incredibly restricting to non-max free agents. He's more than likely looking for a chance to showcase his skills, meaning that he would definitely prefer to play as a starter, even though he would most likely be more effective for the team as a part of the second unit. So even in wake of all of this mass hysteria, I don't think that Boogie Cousins will be all that effective for the Warriors, and even if he is, he's staying for only 1 year. The Warriors were title favorites anyway. Whether or not Boogie hurts the team doesn't really matter, because in the end, they're most likely going to win the championship. That hasn't changed. So there's no reason to panic, as this probably won't be all that it's cut out to be. I wish the best for Boogie Cousins, but right now, I'm not so sure about this.